In the autumn of 1988, I published my first essay in a literary magazine. I was 24 years old. The very first line of my literary debut illustrates the subject I want to talk about in this short video. As soon as the reader picks up a novel, he should be fully aware that any of the characters may not simply be personified with the author. Where is the line between the fiction an author writes and her or his own view on life? And how much freedom is left to a writer with wokeism on the rise? Hello everyone and welcome to Dutchgreybeard. One might think that in obvious speculative fiction such as fantasy or science fiction, a reader can easily make the distinction between author and characters. Still, I've noticed that creators on BookTube sometimes judge an author by the actions or words of their characters. Like Bookpilled, who accuses Robert Heinlein of being a misogynist. I've read almost all of Heinlein's novels and an extensive biography, but I have not come across anything that indicates that the writer Heinlein was strongly prejudiced against women. Some of his characters most certainly are. And recently I watched a video of Maid Between the Pages. This video of hers, by the way, is my trigger for making this short entry myself. In her wrap-up video, published on February 16, she talks about Dragonflight by Anne McCaffrey. Let me show you a few snippets from that video.
Then the romance part of this book starts, and it's awful. It's horrible. I don't have any other words for it. There was a particular line in this book that went way overboard for me, and it was just, it's awful, and I can't believe McCaffrey, who knows how to write clearly, thought that these words deserve to be on paper.
He had not thought to control his dragon-incited emotions, and Lessa's, the main female character, first sexual experience had been violent. He had been a considerate and gentle bedmate ever since, but unless the dragons were involved, he might as well call it rape. Yet he knew someday, somehow, he would coax her into responding wholeheartedly to his lovemaking.
Just absolutely disgusting, completely endorsing and normalizing marital rape. I beg you to give me any reason why this needs to be in here.
Before I go on, let me make absolutely clear that I highly respect both booktubers mentioned here, Bookpilled and Maid Between the Pages, and that what follows is by no means an attack on their videos or opinions. Now, I get it when a reader doesn't like to read about rape, murder, or any other abusive behavior. Certainly in these times we live in, where almost every word one speaks can be interpreted as an insult. This is even worse if anything you say is sexually related. I'll get back to this in a minute. What I don't get is that readers confuse the fictional story they read with any opinion the author might have on what her or his characters concoct, think, say, or do. There's a lot of killing going on in fantasy, which does not mean that Abercrombie, Gwynne, or Sanderson have secret desires to commit a murder or even condoning similar crimes. No, they are telling a story, just as Anne McCaffrey is. In the case of Dragonflight, which I read recently, it is obvious that the words Maid Between the Pages mentions is part of the world building. A human who impresses a dragon becomes entangled in his or her dragon's mind. This is very strongly the case when this dragon is sexually aroused. The word rape is included to emphasize the strength of this kind of bonding within the world of Pern. I think it highly unlikely that the author is displaying her own opinion about sexual abuse within marriage. Anne McCaffrey is not completely endorsing and normalizing marital rape. She's telling a fictional story in which this one instance of marital rape explains how strong the bond is between dragon and its human. Some words regarding wokeism. What I can understand is that we are removing statues of statesmen from parks and squares who back in the day were actively involved in slavery or are now to be considered war criminals. A statue is an expression of reverence, so in a way the removal is putting a stop to revering these people who by nowadays standards did awful things. What I don't understand is the editing of books of authors like Roald Dahl, Ian Fleming, Agatha Christie and Mark Twain. In doing that, we're on a slippery slope because this touches on the freedom of speech. Now, nothing is sacrosanct to me, not even freedom of speech. But if you change the words of a writer who cannot protest anymore, you have to have very good reasons to do so. The fact that some words may insult people doesn't qualify, in my opinion, because it is simply impossible to please everybody. How far will this form of overprotection go? Before you know it, you're accused of insulting someone. Should we ban the entire horror genre altogether because horror is offensive by definition? Or comedy by the likes of Ricky Gervais or Dave Chappelle? This recent message really got me thinking. The Diary of Anne Frank banned from schools because it is supposed to be pornographic. If it weren't so sad, it would be laughable. No author should experience any restrictions in portraying who or whatever she or he needs for the story. It is up to the reader to like, dislike, or perhaps even reject this or that story. But to leap to conclusions that the author condones everything a character says or does doesn't do justice to both the story and the author. The two are not the same. Or to quote myself from ages ago once more, as soon as the reader picks up a novel, he should be fully aware that any of the characters may not simply be personified with the author. Please let me know what you think about this subject. Am I missing the mark here, or does any of this make sense? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you very much for watching this video. Until we meet again at Dutchgreybeard.